Hi everyone, this is Shokora Zouheikyoku aka chocomint, and welcome back to our Let's Play of Meeting in the Flesh. In the last playthrough, we have finished the opening of the game, kind of a prologue about the world building of this strange quirky little world and the suitors that our protagonists will be romancing in the future. Hopefully it will be something good for all of them in the end. May they have a great event or festival, and nothing spooky is going to happen as mentioned in the warnings. Hopefully. But then, let's start. My eyes snap open automatically in the morning. I slept well. I usually sleep well. Running all day tends to do that to you. I resist the urge to roll over and bury my face back in my pillow, settling for closing my eyes until the alarm beetle starts chirping. The moment of that familiar noise starts buzzing from the bedside table, I'm up on my feet, stroking its wings to quiet it. As I walk around my room munching on my salt, I glance outside where the skies are warm with sunlight. It's still early, but I can already hear the sounds of faint chatter floating through the window. People aren't usually up and about at this time of day. I peek out the curtains as I lick the last crumbs of salt on my lips. I can spot a few people standing around sweeping the streets or talking amongst themselves, probably discussing the eclipse. I hurry a little as I wash my hands off and prepare to leave the house. I didn't set my alarm for today any earlier than usual, but maybe I should have. I get the feeling today is going to be a busy day. Good morning, dear. Good morning, Agari. In a hurry, are we? Just a little. Seems like today is gonna be hectic, so I should probably get to the plans fast. Alright, I won't keep you then. Have a safe day. Thanks, you too. I feel a little bad about rushing past her like this, but I can already tell that today is going to be a bit different. There's a strange electricity in the air, the feeling that something's going to happen soon. A few blocks down the street, I can see a group of people huddled together, heads gathered. They look like they are discussing something very important, their hands and claws quivering with excitement. I take a right turn into an alleyway before I reach them, so I won't disrupt them by running through the group. No doubt this is an important moment for them, but I do pick up the pace into a large art. My boss might be mad if I'm late today of all days.
You're here.
Sorry if I'm late, boss.
You're not. Lucky for you.
He sounds tense, perhaps understandably. The plant feels busier than usual, with more people bustling around. He hasn't even told me to wear my mask yet, so I do it on my own. I don't want to stress him out for any reason.
How's the day plants looking? You better go cook today. It's looking complicated.
I follow him over to the tables where today's delivery bundles are being assembled. They don't look as put together as they usually are by this time.
We're a bit behind on schedule. We got some more specialty salt requests that weekend, so we had to throw together a batch at the last moment. Didn't expect people to stretch this much for their gloves.
He grumbles, but his hands won't stop moving. I stand alongside him, peeking over his shoulder at the delivery list so I can help assemble salt packets and divide them into bundles accordingly. It's true that the list looks far more complicated than it usually does. Longer too. Usually the daily deliveries are almost all blend soaked, with just a handful of specialty deliveries. Today, the list is peppered with requests for honey, mercury, and punishment salt. So much for my plans for requesting some punishment salt of my own. I better focus on getting the job done today first. Wrapping the salt isn't my specialty, so my movements are a little slow, but even that's better than nothing, judging by the way my boss gives an approval nod. His hands start about the table, grabbing up salt blocks from the crates and wrapping them tight in the pre-cut fabric in one smooth movement, then sliding them across the table. I know he's been the head of the soap plant for 50 years now. This must be second nature to him.
You're a good cook, you know that. You're a good cook. I'm not a cook.
He just grunts at that. I must look like a kid to him, with his age and experience.
But thanks. I just want to help work where I can.
He grins again. It's not like him to say something so mushy. He must really be stressed.
You're a hard worker and you care about other people. That's important. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You're a good cook.
I can't fight back a grin at that.
Thanks, boss.
My boss grabs salt at a ferocious rate, swiftly adding to the pile. But regardless of our addition to the worker line, we're a bit behind schedule by the time my boss hands over my bundle and the route notes for the day. This paper with ticks and checks to mark which house needs specialty salt.
Today's route is going to be tricky. Don't give anyone the wrong order now, you hear? I'll be careful, boss.
I tie the bundle on my shoulder and turn towards the door.
I'll get going. Good luck here. Be careful.
I give him a little wave as I turn towards the door. It's necessary to start my route at a brisk walk to keep my legs from cramping up later on, but I ramped up really quickly into a trot, then a light gallop. I do need to pace myself to avoid tiring myself out early on, though. Today's going to be a bit exhausting for sure, but the thought of getting everyone their specialty salt to celebrate the upcoming eclipse keeps me going. I hope a lot of people are going to be happy. Here you go. Thanks, man. I think most people can immediately tell that I'm in a bit of a rush. I feel bad not stopping to chat with people, but it can't be helped today. Even with the fast club I'm moving at, I'm already a little behind schedule. My feet slip a little as I round a corner too quickly, and I have to dig my claws into the ground to keep from falling over. At least I'll be able to unload a good deal at my cargo at Iesto's office. The office is a bit busier than usual when I open the door to step in. The workers murmur quietly amongst themselves, heads together, hands shuffling about papers. It's usually almost silent in here to help Iesto concentrate, so any noise feels out of the norm. I did notice the eyeballs on the spy outside swiveling around frantically as I walked up. There must be a lot going on. Sure enough, when Iesto disengages from the bot and strides over to me, he looks tired. Despite the slick of fluids, his exoskeleton is slightly lacking in its usual luster and he blinks more often, running his fingers through his hair. Good morning, Val. Good morning, Iesto. Are you holding up alright? Iesto smiles. I'll be fine, thanks. It's just been a bit busy. There were a few incidents last night, so I had to stay up to take care of them. He talks as he leads the way towards the side table where I can set out today's salt delivery. I have to admit, even if I knew the eclipse would be hectic, I didn't expect things to ramp up so quickly. His narrow chest presses, then slowly sinks back in as he looks towards his open bot. Without a controller, the bot lies dormant, his eyes closed and folds of flesh quivering to a stop. It seems everyone's excited to make big, life-changing decisions during the eclipse. But with that excitement comes a lack of judgment in some people, so there's been more trouble in general. Iesto sounds again. I can see a sliver of sharp teeth past the thin gap between his lips. The previous overlook did warn me that eclipse would be hard, but I might have underestimated a little. I give a sympathetic nod as I quickly undo the fabric of my delivery bag so I can line up the soap packets. Today's list of delivery notes is longer than usual. The paper unfolded into a long sheet when I pull it out of my pocket, and I look it over carefully as I begin counting out soap packets. This is your first eclipse, right? That's right. At least I had plenty of time to get used to the job before it came around. I heard my predecessor was barely there a decade into the job before his first eclipse. Iesto laughs. It's a soft, chittering noise, like a cluster of birds, and I can't help but smile and reflex. Ah. I can only imagine how hard that must have been. Oh yes, he never stopped telling me about how difficult that was. Iesto's fingers are long and delicate as he double-checks my counting, making sure there's the right number of each type of salt. 10 for normal, white for mercury, yellow for honey, red for punishment. The office doesn't usually get such a wide variety of salt, but the eclipse merits some splurging, I guess. I thought everyone deserves a little something nice for the eclipse. Huh? It's like he can read my mind. He runs his fingers over the stacks of salt bags. It's an awfully special time, so I put in a little effort and found the funds for some specialty salt. They'll go to people who've been having hard times, as a sort of good luck charm. I'm sure it'll be really appreciated. I look up from my note to give him a smile. He blinks before smiling back. His teeth are very white. Yeah, it is. I'm glad you think so. I'm glad to help as many people as possible, to make this eclipse safe and enjoyable for as many people as possible, even if I have to spend every waking moment in the overlooked part. You already do so much for the community though. He still looks at me when I speak up and I smile at him. I'm not very good at being reassuring, but I do my best. I've heard people talk about how things have become really peaceful since you became overlooked. So don't worry too much. As long as you do your best, I'm sure that's plenty. Iesto's hair rustles as he cans his head. He seems to be considering what I said. I'm rooting for you, alright? So let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Though he remains silent, Iesto blinks, like he's just realizing something. I should head up then. Wouldn't want to eat up too much of your time either. I've double-checked to make sure I've set out all the salts Iesto requested, so I pick up my bag to tie it back over my shoulder. But as I'm tying the knot, Iesto suddenly draws a little closer, just one pace away from me. He's tall enough that I have to raise my head a little to look into his eyes. He's looking down at me with clear focus. Vil. Yes? I know you're busy with your route, but if it's possible, could you spare a few more minutes to speak with me? There's an unusual gravity to his voice. Iesto is usually light and airy. Everything about him feels unobtrusive and soft, but right now there's a clear point to his face, and his back's held straighter. Even if his gaze is gentle and his face is relaxed, I can tell from the tension of his shoulders and the way he holds himself that he is serious. I can't help casting a brief glance towards the door though. My schedule's still pretty busy today, and I can't spare that much extra time, especially since I should try to stay a little ahead of schedule in case I hit any roadblocks or cause for delay later down the line. But still, I get the sense that this might be something very important for Iesto. Even if I stay to speak with him, I should be able to manage all my other deliveries as long as I move quickly and don't waste any more time. What should I do? I think this is the point where our choices will really matter. This is where we will have to choose a suitor, and our choices will lead me to a certain route and a certain ending. So, as I mentioned before, I'm really interested in Iesto for his pretty hair. Pretty hair. So let's do it first. Let's stay and talk to Iesto and not apologize and get going. We will apologize in another time. I think it would be best to listen to what Iesto has to say. Ultimately, I can't bring myself to just leave, not when Iesto is making such a personal request of me. He's usually so composed and calm that it feels easy to forget that, beneath it all, he's another individual with his own worries and struggles. If he's asking me to stay, there must be a good reason for it, and it would bother me for a long time if I abandoned him like this. And I do have confidence in my running, after all. I'm sure I should be able to finish my deliveries on time, even if I stay here for a little while. Alright. I give Iesto a smile as I undo the ties to my back, lowering it once more. I think I should be alright to stay for a little bit. Iesto blinks, hesitating for a moment before speaking up again. He sounds slightly guilty. Are you sure, though? I know this must sound ridiculous, since I'm the one who asked you to stay, but I still wouldn't want to cause you too much trouble if your schedule today is tight. Witnessing this surge of uncertainty in someone usually so inflammable is an odd feeling. I nod, considering what to say. It's not a big deal. I won't be late. Don't worry, I'm sure I can maintain my schedule. Besides, I think it might not be a bad idea to rest up a little bit before resuming my route. I tend to take more breaks earlier on in the day, when my back is heavier. I see. It's only after he mutters that confirmation that Iesto gives a small sign, his shoulders sloping downward as he releases some of the tension in his body. The stiff strains of his hand wrestle against each other as he dips his head slightly, seeming to nod to himself before he looks to me once more. There's the gleam of his teeth as he grins at me. Thank you. I really appreciate it. His voice is warm, warmer than usual. I feel a spot of heat bloom in my chest, spreading to the base of my throat, and I have to swallow it back. I have to admit the past few days have been incredibly hectic, and they have been taking a toll on me. But it's hard to justify taking a break by myself when there's so much to keep an eye on. There's a pause before he seems to realize what he said and laughs, embarrassed. His long, bony fingers draw graceful acts as he waves a hand. Not that I'm just using you as an excuse to rest, of course. I do have something I want to speak to you about. Let's change locations, shall we? I wouldn't want to disturb the others while they're still working. The other workers have been diligently toiling away at their tasks, shuffling papers and jotting down notes. Some speak quietly into communication bladders, the bladder tubes buzzing as they carry important messages after their recipients. One worker looks up and gives a curt nod upon meeting Iesto's eyes, then promptly returns to ruffling through a tall pile of papers. Let's go up on the roof, shall we? Sure. As we pass by the other workers at their desk, Iesto gently touches one of the shoulder and leans in close, presumably to tell him where it will be. The worker nods in understanding before promptly returning to the task. Iesto ends up leading us out the door at the back of the office. It opens up to an external stairway that crawls upwards, tracing along the contours of the building. Even this far down, vents and nerves from overlooked spike curl around the stairway's guardrail, gently twitching whenever the wind picks up. The spire itself is calm, however. The mirrored eyes half closed and shifting the gaze languidly. The overlooked tower seems to be operating automatically for the moment. Let's see. Okay, I can see the eyes in closer, much closer, and not from far away now. In the way that it's portrayed over here, the overlooked tower looks like a kind of giant tree with eyes. He's half awake right now. Iesto must have noticed me looking up curiously. It's not as alert as when I'm in the bath, of course, but even I need to take breaks now and again. And we can't just leave the streets completely unwashed. So the towers evolved to have a half-awake state. Oh! I'm not sure if it's flipped. I don't think it's flipped. The sprite is a bit different. The sprite is a little bit different. Much different. It does show his good side though. Only half of the eyes are active, and it can't differentiate between good and bad activity without me. It just automatically alerts us when it spots an unusual amount of movement anywhere. But still, it's better than nothing, and I'm grateful I can take quick breaks without feeling like I've left my boss completely unattended. We've been steadily heading up the stairs. Each time Iesto takes a step, the pointed tip of his leg hits the stair with a metallic bang. His movements are graceful and calm. They always are. Everything about Iesto always seems graceful and calm, and I can't help wondering how he does it. It must just be in his nature, and I really admire him for it. It can't be easy always being so calm, so I really admire him for it. You're such a hard worker. It slips out before I can catch myself, and I feel my face grow hot when Iesto gives me a curious look. I think you must be really diligent to stay so on top of things all the time, and I think that's really admirable. There's a pause before Iesto smiles, letting out a low exhale that might have been a laugh. Oh, he's showing more sharp teeth over here. Thanks, Bill. But you're also a hard worker, aren't you? The wind is stronger as soon as we clear the stairwell and step onto the rooftop. The jagged shape of the city spreads out before us. Some buildings loom tall, dwelling veins and feathery strands of flesh that sway in the wind, reflecting the green sunlight of damp spots. Others spread wide, covering entire blocks, like flat blends of bone-dry rock. The streets are full of people bustling about, no doubt busy tending to reckless business. Even from up here, it's obvious that everyone is excited. There's a strange, electric energy in the air. It's an amazing view. It's beautiful, isn't it? Iesto walks over to the edge of the roof, near the spire. He lays a hand on it, and the flash pulses gently against the touch of his fingers. The tower's eyes languidly scanning the horizon. I come up here whenever I need a break. Looking at the city like this helps me regain my focus. Of course, it makes sense that even someone like Iesto would need a place to rest once in a while. He slowly takes a seat at the edge of the building, then beckons me over. So I oblige, trotting over and taking a seat beside him, legs dangling over the edge. Isn't that kind of dangerous? Do you have handrails, railings for that? A steep breeze blows past us, and I'm suddenly much more aware of how high up we are. I don't think I'm particularly afraid of heights, but I still feel a small thrill trace down my spine if I look down. Iesto doesn't seem afraid at all though, partly because he's used to being up this high, I imagine, but partly because he seems completely immersed in thought. The green of the sun washes over us as he gazes over the cityscape. His exoskeleton is beautifully glossy despite his exhaustion. Warm sunlight bouncing off the sharp angles of his cheeks and wiry strands of his hair. His teeth are very white when he finally opens his mouth to speak. Pausing for a moment, he finally forms words. I want to speak to you about a hypothetical situation. A hypothetical situation? Yes, hypothetical. He's curiously specific about that. A hypothetical. But I keep the observation to myself and only not. Sure, I don't know how helpful I can be, but I'm always happy to try. Iesto nods in response, ruminating over his thoughts for a moment longer before speaking. Let's say you have the chance to help a lot of people. However, it comes at a cost. You need to give up something very important to yourself in order to help those people. There's nobody forcing you to do it. There's no punishment if you don't help those people. And nobody will judge you for not wanting to pay the price. It is purely your decision whether to pay the price and help those people. What do you think you would do, Will? It's a tough question. Iesto doesn't look at me, his gaze still directed out over the cityscape, and I try to see what he's seeing as I think that question over. How should I answer? That's a scary question. Would the help be significant? What would that price be? Even if I think the matter over, it's hard to give a solid answer without a better idea of what the price would be. Well, I think it might depend on what kind of price has to be paid. Whether it's money or time or energy, I think everything comes with a price. So it's hard to give an answer to something like that without knowing what kind of price I have to pay. Iesto nods slowly in response, still looking out over the city. His voice is a quiet murmur when he responds. Yes, Of course. Then let me try putting it in a slightly different way. Still hypothetical? Still hypothetical. Yesto seemed slightly amused by that clarification, as narrowed in a thin smile. You would, hypothetically speaking, like to be a better person, yes? I'm not. Of course, I think everyone probably wants to be a better person if possible. Then, let's say there's a way for you to objectively become a better version of yourself. Not in a nebulous, vague way. It won't be that you'll be wiser or more experienced or more thoughtful. You'll objectively become a better version of what you are now. An upgrade, if you will. Do you think you would want that? Yes, no. Maybe. I don't know. It's still kind of vague to me. You still haven't answered what's the price. So, yes, no, or maybe. I hesitate before answering. I'm not sure. It sounds like it might be good, but it's also hard to imagine. And I think something like that might have downsides to it. I'll need to think it over carefully. Fair point. Yes, still very vague. What does the price? What does becoming a better version of yourself means that you lose your memory, lose a sense of yourself? You lost the sense of self before you become that better version? Do you become a different version? A different person completely? Like a stranger to others instead? Do you kind of become like robotic, become cold in your personality? Does anything change? It is what it is. It is very important to consider what the change that will happen if you become a better version of yourself. A lot of values and thoughts and opinions are varied, especially for what considered better. Sometimes an upgrade is not always the best thing ever. Then, building on that same scenario, Ian still turns to look at me. The sunlight glimmers off the metallic strands of his hair, highlighting the sharp angle of his eyelids, and I find myself sitting up straighter. All my focus is on considering his words. This feels like something important to him, so I want to consider it with the gravity it deserves. Let's say you can make the improvement. You guarantee that it will make you better, and you'll be able to do better at your job. Everyone will admire you for it. There are practically no downsides to this improvement itself. But your relationship to someone you value will change drastically, and it can't be changed back. Not broken, mind you. You'll still have a close relationship with that person, but it will be different. How do you feel about it? It's hard to answer immediately. Mixed emotions trickle through my head, and I need to filter through them. A significant part of me wants to better myself, of course, but I also value my relationships with people. It's a tough question, isn't it? Yes, those eyes are narrowed, his expression gentle as he studies my face. Sorry, I know it's a strange hypothetical to spring on anyone, but I value your opinion, and I'll really appreciate it if you'll tell me your honest thoughts about it. I can sort of understand what Esther was getting at. If I try hard enough, I'll repeat his words in my head, ruminating over each one. Well, becoming an unequivocally better person at the cost of a changed relationship. How do I feel about that? I think it might be worth considering. I don't think it would be worth it. It would depend on how the relationship changes. I wouldn't be able to turn down a situation like that immediately, but I wouldn't immediately say yes either. That really is a hard question. I don't know if I could really answer it. It's definitely something I'll consider, but I'll need more information too. Changing the relationship I have with someone could potentially be pretty big, and I wouldn't do something like that without knowing more details. Iesto's gaze remains fixed on me. You value your relationships to others a lot, don't you? Of course, especially my relationship with you. Of course, but mostly my relationship with you. I joke to try and lighten the mood a touch, though I'm not sure it really lands. Yasto does give a low laugh, the sound rasping from the back of his throat. Are you trying to flirt with me? Yes, is it working? I can't say I don't appreciate the sentiment, but perhaps at a different time. Oh, I see, so you're not rejecting. He gives a long sigh as he sits back, propping himself up on his arms as he gazes out over the city, though he still looks as controlled and calm as ever. His posture seems more relaxed than usual. In conjunction with his pensive expression, it lends him a strange air of vulnerability, like he's struggling with something he's never struggled with before. Yes, though. Yes. I know you said that these are all hypothetical questions, but if you wanted to talk about anything non-hypothetical, I'll also be alright with it. Yasto pans his head, gaze casts aside in thought. A breeze whips past us, sending worried strands of his hair floating up around him. They practically sparkle in the warm sunlight. His voice is a little softer, almost blending into the distant buzz of the city as he murmurs. You're very kind to us, Val. Thank you. I suppose I haven't been terribly subtle. It's true that there are things I've been thinking about very seriously. But alas, we should be getting back to work, shouldn't we? There's the gentle tap-tap of his feet against the rooftop as he rises. Two clear sounds like the knot of bone against rock. His body is lit and serpentine as he stretches his arms, fingers bleeding out wide for a second as he extends his lips as far as the reach. Looking up at him from where I'm still sitting on the rooftop, I'm all the more aware of how this person who is so important to the city's well-being is also just a single individual facing tremendous pressure. Iesto exhales slowly, the nose whistling past the sharp points of his teeth before he lowers his arms. His body language is graceful and casual once more as he reaches down to pat my shoulder. His fingers squeeze briefly before releasing. Let's head back in, shall we? Of course, I'm climbed to my feet and follow after him as he starts heading back down the stairwell and into the office. Iesto doesn't say anything more as he leads the way down the stairwell. The breeze carries the sounds of the city, filtering them past our ears. Thoughtful murmurs, someone's excited shout, the thump of running feet. Pausing in my steps, I close my eyes and turn towards the endless expanse of buildings, but it's hard making out any individual sounds even if I focus. All I know is that the city is abuzz with energy, excited for the eclipse. Things seem to be progressing smoothly. Even with my drier attitude towards the eclipse, I find myself growing a little excited for the potential that day holds. When I snap out of my reverie and hurry to catch up to Iesto, he holds the office door open for me, smiling kindly as he ushers me inside first. Thank you so much for keeping my company, Val. I truly appreciate it. The subtle sounds of worry and vulnerability are shown while discussing those hypotheticals with me are gone, just like that. There's only the calm, collected, gentle Iesto that I've always known standing before me, holding out my back. Just getting a few minutes to relax and speak with you was incredibly refreshing. I'm grateful for your time. But I do hope it didn't cause you too much trouble on your route. Not at all. I give the most reassuring nod as I can. It's a white lie in the sense that it did tighten my schedule, but I'm fairly confident it won't cause me any issues. I can make this work out. I swiftly tie my back over my shoulders once more, jostling it to make sure it's secure before turning towards the door. I'll be going then. I hope the rest of your day goes smoothly. Don't push yourself too hard, alright? Of course. Take care, Bill. Even a few of the other words glance over, giving me a brief wave. I return the gesture as I pull the door open. I do one last check on my back as I step outside, and as the door closes behind me, I catch one last glimpse of Iesto through the narrowing sliver of an opening. He meets my gaze and flashes me a smile, the corners of his eyes squinting, a look that feels like a genuine connection. Ah. And then the door shuts. A sensible part of me wants to linger. After all, I'm sure Iesto had more to say. The topics he brought up felt far too specific and heavy to be mere hypotheticals, and it doesn't sit well with me to leave the subject hanging in the air. But still, both he and I have work to do. Too many people will be left troubled if we don't tend to our tasks. And so I turn away towards the street, taking a deep breath. The claws of my feet dig in as I take 1, 2 steps. My next steps come faster, my gait widening as my pace picks up. When I ram up into a gallop, the scenery around me smearing as I gather speed. My own worries can come later. For now, I need to focus. It wouldn't do to leave people without thoughts when such an important day is coming up. And that should be a good pause for our playthrough for meeting in the flesh today. We have moved to another day in our delivery days, and it's getting closer to the close where more salt is coming and everything is hectic. But somehow we managed to set some time to talk to Iesto, a nice little chat. It seems that Iesto has some worries and concerns that he doesn't give the specifics, so it's very vague and difficult to give any opinion. But hopefully that chat will help him better. He does seem better. And we continue on our work next, which is going to appear on the next playthrough. So that should be all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next playthrough of Meeting in the Flesh. Bye bye!